Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I'm joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart. And today we're talking about gay sex, and in particular, glory holes. You know, Finn, I was thinking that it'd be a really fun, like, gay horror film to be like create one called Gory Hold instead of Glory Hold.
Yeah, it actually probably would be a hit.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, gay men are probably like already a little bit too afraid of the sex that they have, but but like, wouldn't that be funny? They stick their dicks in a hole, and then all of a sudden, it's like Himeros Live
and
is
traumatized.
Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Himeros.tv has everything that you love about porn, the models, the cum shots, the fucking, and combines it with authenticity, pleasure, and sexual exploration through explicit erotic videos co-created by a team of gay sex experts, all designed to give you the best gay sex of your life. Join today at Himeros.tv. Himeros.tv, it's like porn, but better. Gay sex experts. Gay sexperts?
Right, sexperts.
Yeah, I need to change that for next week. Hey, Finn, how are you?
I am doing great. I'm good. I took like 5 lifts today though because it keeps raining in San Francisco, so that's not cool.
5 lifts. Oh, like
lift,
ride sharing thing.
Yeah. But I'm doing great. I'm having like a lot of fun stuff going on.
Anything you want to share, or do you just want to tease us like that with just a tip?
Right, just a tip. Well, actually, so one of the things that's happening is I'm enrolling in a program in Modern Sex Therapy Institute out of Florida that has a program like for sex counselors that's certifiable, so that I would be able to actually just have more clinical experience and supervision under sex therapists. So that's exciting.
Wow, that sounds like a big commitment.
Yeah, well, it's not like a sex therapy program would be licensed. I'd still be able to coach. I'd be utilizing it. It'd be like something that would be certifiable for me and recognized. All sex therapists have to go through it. But as a coach, I would be able to still use the certification to have a little bit more accessibility to teaching workshops and being in a broader conversation with the public. So
yeah, I think it'd be fun. Bring a lot to the table in the work that we're doing. Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, and then supervision under therapists, which is exciting for me. So
nice. Well, I literally just got back from a Himeros.tv shoot outside of Joshua Tree, California. So yeah, and I'm also obsessed with this week's Himeros.tv video called Glory Hold. But however, Finn, you sent me a cryptic text message last week that said, "Remind me to tell you about the train car jack off on the podcast."
That's not very cryptic. That's like pretty straightforward.
Well, I mean, what's the details, girl? We're listening.
I know you will like this story, I think. So 3 years ago, I went to Italy, and this is when I first had started dating my partner, and he was actually going to Hawaii, to Kalani for a month, and I went to Italy. So we were really far apart, and we decided after we parted that we would have certain agreements and would play around if we wanted to. And I kind of was at the point where I was like, we'll see. I think we've talked about this on here a lot. I was in a not so much interested in other people phase, and I was on this train car in well, actually, since I can't speak Italian, I got on the wrong train and I wanted to be on a rapid train. So I actually was on this slow train and I was kind of pissed about it. It was like going through every single little town, and it was like I was on my way to Rome. It should have been like a 2-hour trip, and it ended up being like a 5-hour train ride. Anyway, this hot Italian guy comes through the train car. I was sitting in a pretty empty train car and reading a book, and he cruised me, and I was like, oh. Like it activated me, and I followed him into the bathroom, and we had fun. We jacked off in the bathroom, and then he wanted to sit down with me after that, which I wasn't really used to. Like when I would have like anonymous, play like that, I didn't usually hang out with afterward, and those sorts of like public. What?
This sounds exactly like my story. Didn't I share a story about how I was on? I don't know if I shared it on a podcast or not, but how I was on an Amtrak train. And like I hooked up with a guy in the bathroom, and then he came back and sat down with me and like held my hand as I was going back to college. I had literally the same experience, but of course mine was in like New Jersey,
Oh,
not
wow.
not like going to
Right.
Italy, which is a little bit more exciting and exotic. What is it with guys that you hook up with in train bathrooms that want to sit with you and hold your hand and be your
I
boyfriend?
know they want to be buddies. Well, I mean, so we had a really good time hanging out after that, and it was really hot because for a while, like I like it. They kind of remind me when I was younger. I used to do stuff like that all the time, and it just kind of took me back into this place. And he wanted to sit with me, and we had a lot in common. I'm a minister's kid. He was like a kid from a nun that had like broken a vow, and so we had all these parallels in our lives in multiple ways. And I had just started dating my boyfriend. He had just started dating his boyfriend, and then we just kept having fun too. Like the car was empty, and I could see down the whole um, aisle, both directions. If somebody was coming, they kept pulling his dick out, and like it was just like it was a fun connection. And anyway, long story short, he kept in touch with me for several years, and he's wanted to come to the Bay and visit. And for a while, it just didn't really flow in my life to connect. But he is visiting right now, me and my partner, so he's like hanging out and staying with us. And
Wait, he's there right now?
well, not in my house right this minute, but like he's in San Francisco staying with us. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was wondering, I was like, well, why, like, what made you think of this now? Like, why is this relevant today? This
Right.
story
I'm
from
like,
3
oh,
years
I found
ago.
this like really awesome story I want to tell. No, but he's here, he's visiting, and it's really fun. We're having like a lot of fun just hanging out with him and getting to know him. And we have a lot in common with him emotionally and just in our life, the places in life that we're in. So
Having
it's
said
been
that,
fun.
you wish he just said suck your dick and not said anything and moved on.
Oh no, it was actually, I don't know. This is, you know what? Okay, but this is a really significant experience for me, not just because it was like this fun, hot thing, but it was a moment in my life where I realized how I showed up in hookups. I was really uninhibited, but how I was showing up with my, then just fresh boyfriend was like, I was feeling really inhibited, and I didn't realize that until I had those two experiences side by side. And it wasn't like, oh, this is just so much hotter. It was like, oh, I'm the one that's like showing up differently. Okay. It was like an aha moment. So it was just really cool. And there's some synchronistic, awesome thing that he's like here visiting. And then, my partner is enjoying hanging out with him. We all cuddled last night, and it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I do see some of myself in that, and that like I would totally like hook up with a guy like in the basement of my condo building or something, but I would never think to do that with Chad. But why not? Like, wouldn't it be fun to kind of merge those worlds?
Totally. And at that point, I was like, I want to work through this. I don't want to always need a certain set of circumstances to feel this, slutty. So it was an entry point to my way. So that's why I wanted to tell you about it, because like it was such an interesting like synchronicity in my life. It was one of the impetuses that got me into this work that I do currently. So
cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story. And speaking of exciting sexual experiences, let's chat about the shoot outside of Joshua Tree that I just got back from.
Yes, I loved what you sent me too. God.
Yeah, I've been texting Finn and Matt like dirty pictures and videos from the set of the shoot. So, well, here's the setup. Let me just back up. The idea was that we invited 4 models to film 12 videos about becoming a better lover with Jason Tantra of tantraforgaymen.com. I never know if it's Tantra or Tantra. He says Tantra.
I say
sounds
Tantra.
A little bit more exciting. Yeah, it sounds a little bit more like
Tantra.
Tantra, like
Tantra.
tantraforgaymen.com. So on the first afternoons, we did an intensive workshop, and for the rest of the week, we filmed the videos, and there were 12 really strong like concepts that we worked on for months and months and months. Finn, you know how the process is. So the shoot started on Monday. On Saturday, I got a text message from one of the models that he couldn't come. He had like severely injured his back, and obviously that isn't conducive to a week of fucking. So and a plane ride to California. So like life happens, right? And I think we've just had like such good luck with shoots and models and like things working out. So I really scrambled because I mean, these shoots, it's not just like, you can't just plug anyone into these projects. It requires like, even for the shoots that we're doing, Finn, this summer, like we're both screening the models, talking to them, having conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I really scrambled my ass off, and I found someone who was great, like at last minute. And so I went to bed Saturday night being like, okay, breathing a sigh of relief. And then Sunday morning I wake up and one of the other 4 models got diagnosed with mono.
Mm.
And so he was out, and then I had to do the whole scramble all over again. And so all day I worked the numbers, text messages, had to find someone that's available like at last minute. And like people have lives, but fortunately someone didn't. So
Someone didn't have a life.
yeah. So I booked the flight, boom. Okay, so now we have our 4 models. Monday we get out to location, everyone's flights land, it's all good. Jason's there. We have 2 homes it's not in Joshua Tree, it's outside of Joshua Tree. And one was called Luna and one was called Aurora. So like Luna was moon themed and Aurora was sun themed. So one house was like bright yellow and everything in it was yellow and orange, and the other one was like all like dark blue, navy blue, purples. Like it was supposed to be the moon. Very like Joshua Tree. It was actually, yeah. No. Oh yeah, girl. And there were like alien UFO things like all over the house, and there was pentagrams set up in the backyard made out of hammocks. So like 6 hammocks like forming pentagrams, and it was pretty wild. So awesome location, super remote, tons of Joshua Tree and Joshua trees, those like Dr. Seuss things. Those pine trees, they're like hundreds of years old, and cacti everywhere. So amazing space. And the models are doing this like intensive, I think the workshop was 4 hours, and Jason did essentially like a week-long retreat in 4 hours. He had like the models were doing eye gazing, erotic touch. He taught the wheel of consent. I mean, tons and tons of content, and a lot of it, I think the bulk of it was about getting the models to connect with each other and opening up and like showing up as their true self. And at the end of it, one of the models came up to me and he said to me, he's like, look, like, he's like, I can't do this. This is too real for me. There was sexual trauma in my past that is like coming up for me, and I haven't told anyone about it. And like, I can't, like, it's not good for me to move forward with this. And I've never walked out on a shoot, but like, I can't do this. And so we had this conversation, 15, 20 minutes talking about it. And I was also concerned, like, now that he's had this moment, like, is this going to impact the porn that he does? And he said, no, he's like, the porn that I do, he's like, it's just a character. Like it's not me. And so it doesn't matter. Like, that's really easy for me. But like what you're doing is asking me to like really show up and be seen. And like, I'm just not comfortable with that. So he had to do what was right for him. And that meant leaving the set before we started. It also kind of prompted a conversation that Jason and I had, that like, we do these shoots, and like, I mean, this shoot that we did, like at one point or another, I think probably everyone was crying. Stuff comes up, you have these beautiful moments, you have difficult moments, that like, we do this for a series of days and then it's over, and then everyone just goes back into the real world. And that maybe there's like a need to continue like the conversation with some of these performers, like some sort of aftercare program for the models.
Totally.
So it's not just like throwing them back into the world with like all this shit that's been stirred up. Which is something I want to think about for future projects. So anyway, it was just, this is now the second time in a row that that's happened, where a model, after going through the workshop on the first day, has left because of sexual trauma. So I don't know, Finn, like, we haven't really had a conversation around this, but like, I'm not sure like how to flag this for people moving forward, like potential models, and like how this impacts even us, like through the screening process. Like, do we say, hey, like, if you've experienced sexual trauma, like this might not be for you. But I also imagine that some people who have experienced sexual trauma would really benefit from a project like this and find it really empowering. I don't know. What do you think?
I do. Well, yeah, both of those answers. I feel like, it's definitely a good idea to mention to them that they might be encountering some things that would stir up, and then just to preface it, like, have you experienced any kind of trauma? How have you dealt with that trauma, and how have you, like, a lot of men have experienced it and have had therapy and are comfortable talking about it openly, and then some guys might not realize that that's going to come up. And once it is up, then it's like, oh, now I need some sort of some resources, if they weren't planning for it. So I think as learning as we go, yeah, it's something that, and to be fair, what's happening, I think I mentioned this to you in text, like what's happening in these shoots too. It's like, there are so many men out there that have been traumatized, even in small amounts, that they're not really getting an opportunity to talk about it. So it's kind of highlighting something that's going on in our culture, especially after Me Too, and a lot of guys started speaking up, and then there was some lashback saying like, you're a guy, you can't join. But it's like, no, all of us have had some of this. So I think it's a great idea to include some of that in the screening process for sure. And what he said to me is just so key. He's like, oh, well, what I do usually is just like a character. It's like this thing that I play. This isn't really who I am. And I think that, yeah, we're wanting people to be open to being themselves, and creating community around that idea. So for sure, I think we should mention it to people, but not assume that they haven't done anything about it, because a lot of guys have.
Yeah, I guess it's just like, it's not like, it's different from a traditional tantric retreat because it's also a video shoot, and like it might not be the space for someone to really work through for the first time, like some of the issues that they've like pushed down for years and sometimes decades. So I think even as we talk to guys saying like, hey, this is something that's come up in past projects, like for guys that haven't really worked through some of their like sexual trauma, like it's been really difficult, and it's been an issue. And like, if that's something that might apply to you, like we should really think about that and see if this would be a good fit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good to know too, as we go into some of the future projects. I'm like trained in some trauma informed techniques to work. And I mean, that comes up in my workshops all the time. So these things that's why I'm like hearing this from these models and saying like, yeah, I mean, and I hear men talk about these things, even small things, like this is a micro situation, but I'll just go ahead and say it, like it used to happen a lot when I was younger. I would go out to gay clubs, and part of me wanted to get just kind of like groped by people, but then also part of me felt really like taken from when guys would do that. And I think part of our gay culture has a lot of like mix-ups and confusions around consent and who's allowed to do what, and it's just kind of common for people just to like handle you and treat you a certain way. And I've heard a lot of guys open up about that and say that they've felt traumatized by some of the interactions they've had just in the gay scene.
Yeah.
And no one to talk about it with, because it's like kind of part of the culture.
He said that when doing the Wheel of Consent, as soon as Jason got to the part about rape, he was like, okay, I'm done. Like, this isn't, I can't. I do know this for future projects. I'm definitely going to hire 5 models instead of 4. That way, if someone pulls their rack, like we still have 4 models, and or if someone decides that they can't do it, like it just gives us more flexibility. It's kind of like and if we all 5 show up, awesome. Like that gives us more options with filming. But
totally.
Since it's happened twice in a row now, and once it did happen, we just really had to readjust the schedule, and we realized that like filming 12 videos wasn't going to happen. So we ended up filming 10. And I did have a friend who's a model come for the last day to like step in for a few of the videos to like give us some fresh energy. So having said all of that, like the final product was incredible, and the 3 guys were like deeply, deeply connected. And I don't even want to say that like these things that happened went wrong, because like the group that we ended up with and the content we got was so powerful. And some of the videos, if we had our original schedule, like we wouldn't have been able to have the time to get into like the places that we got into with some of the models. And we filmed some like really, really powerful content. I did take a few notes here that I wanted to. There are a couple of videos that really stood out. The very first video that we filmed on the first day is called something like Hard and Soft, and it explores the extremes of like very slow touch and very, very hard touch. And so kind of we filmed like a session of slow touch and a session of hard touch like separately, but the video will oscillate back and forth to kind of show some of the spectrum. And the guys were super connected and like super intense, and like what we filmed I've never seen captured on camera, and the breathing and the like the intensity of it, really fucking powerful. We also did a devotion video where one of the models honored the other model like a god. So Chris Harder was one of the models, and he was honoring Wesley Woods, and both of those guys had something really special between them. And Chris told Wesley like how kind and how beautiful he is and how deserving he is of love and happiness. And he's telling this to Wesley, and Wesley's just like in tears. Like it was so heartfelt and so authentic. And I think it's hard to like, it would be for me, it'd be hard to receive someone saying those things about you, because for a lot of people, you know, we're just like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit. Like, oh, I don't deserve to be loved. How do you like, how would you react to someone really like affirming you and seeing you like that?
Well, it's a good question. It kind of depends on the day, you know? Like, first off, before I even answer that question, I'm so excited to see this content. I'm very excited. I mean, yeah, you know, if I'm in a good space, I can take it in. If I'm feeling really vulnerable, it might just be like, why would you be saying that to me? I mean, I even actually have those moments with my partner sometimes where he's affirming me, and I'm just like, it will make me cry, and because it's what we want, you know? And to hear it from somebody, it's like, really? Really? You really think that? And it's like, oh God. So
yeah. I can't believe we caught it on camera. I mean, like Chris went on probably for like, I don't know, like half a minute or something, just really affirming Wesley. And he was just holding his feet. And the video at one point in that video, Wesley had for the first time a full body orgasm. And we like caught it on camera, you know, like, and it was just, he said that the entire world just like faded out, and all he could see was Chris's eyes just looking at him, like the whole room, everything blurred out. And he said he felt this like incredible, like he just felt in touch with everything. Like he felt like this, I mean, it sounds so cliche, right? Like this like oneness. We interviewed him afterwards because it was such a powerful video. And we had the time because we were on this like strict, crazy schedule. So I'll post that at some point on my YouTube channel. But like, girl,
that's so cool. Well, you know, it's like to me too, like it shows me like what's possible when all the bullshit gets out of the way, you know, because we want this feeling of acceptance in ourselves. We try really hard to posture in all kinds of ways to just kind of get it and extort it from these moments. But then having a real connection with somebody, when we feel it and letting it in, and then you can like let all that, you know, posturing go, and then look at what comes out of it pleasure wise, like what's possible. You know, it's not just like this localized kind of moment in time. It kind of connects to everything about who we are and what we're seeking in life.
I think the space plays such a big role in that, like where like it's physically held, and we're filming next in Toronto, and that's a busy city. Like there's a lot going on. I think that's going to be more of a challenge. I think when we go to Sweden this summer and we're like in the middle of the woods all by ourselves, I think some of the shit like guys will tap into. Because you're not leaving for the gym. Like we're all, you know, we're not going out for dinner. We're all in one place all the time. And there's something really powerful that happens when you feel. The guys kept saying, like, they kept thanking us as the crew, and they were like, "Thank you for like making me feel safe. Thanks for making me feel safe." And you know, so there was another video that we did called Hat Trick, and This one might have been my favorite. It was really, it's like, you know, like some of the videos, like the devotion video, are really powerful. I think people will be really moved to see them. I also wonder sometimes like how accessible content is like that. Hat Trick is very accessible. It's basically like a game that you can play with your lover or a bunch of friends where you write things on pieces of paper, put them into a hat, and then people pull them out. And it's kind of like truth or dare, right? Like it could be like, tell me something vulnerable about yourself, or it could be like, suck your own dick, whatever. So we did that. And this was when my friend who's a porn star joined the group. So we had the three guys, Wesley, Chris, and Kyle. I think they're all in like their late 20s, 30s. I don't know, somewhere like 20 to 27 to 40 range. I don't know what they are. But then this other model named Adam, he's 19. So he joined. He was kind of like bringing the lamb to slaughter or something. It was the last day, like the last afternoon. He was the fresh meat. And we're filming it, and it's very like 70s vibe, like in this like retro living room. Someone like turns the record player on, does a little dance, like sits down with the group, and they've got the hat, and they're all pulling little notes out of the hat, and they're like, what do you like about the person next to you? Like, say something nice about yourself. So they're kind of like going around the circle, and then Adam's last, and he opens his up, and it says, choke me and jerk me off. He kind of like just reads it. He's like, choke me and jerk me off. And everyone started laughing. I mean, it was pretty precious. So it was funny, but also really hot. And then he got gangbanged after that. That was like the next card that he got on the hat, was gangbanged.
Wow. Awesome.
So yeah, that was probably my favorite, because it was also, I
can't wait to see this.
Yeah, because that's like a game that you'd seriously like. I'd want to play that with Chad. Like, if you're really fun. So anyway, full spectrum of content. Yeah,
that's really cool.
So, another thing that came up. So there were like, again, this is something I've kind of struggled with, is that when we first launched the website, there weren't a lot of cum shots and there wasn't a lot of fucking in the videos. Now there is much more fucking, and almost every video has a cum shot. And that's something I've kind of struggled with, because it's like, you want to hold true to the message of the platform, but you also need to package it in a way that people enjoy watching it. And like cum shots and fucking is one of the like main ways through which people experience erotic video content, especially gay content. So it's like trying to do as much of both as possible. But sometimes when you add in fucking, like it creates like into the schedule, like it creates like anxiety and stress for the models, for the crew, because it's a lot to get someone into that place. And there were a few times where like the scenes definitely went in the direction of fucking, and in one instance the direction of coming, where it was clear that it like wasn't going to happen, despite the fact that there was a ton of chemistry. Like it had nothing to do with the and of course this is what people will say, is like if they see a soft dick, they're gonna leave a comment saying like, oh, they're clearly not into each other. It's like these guys were deeply connected, and there's yet like, cameras in their faces, we're on a busy schedule, like sometimes you just don't get hard.
Totally.
And I've always kind of enjoyed that about our videos, that like that creates an authenticity. But what the model said to me, we had a chat about it. They said, we get like, you don't, the models on our shoots don't use Viagra or Trimex, which is like that dick injection. And they said like, they're like, well, we definitely get that, like why you don't want to use Trimex on set, but like actually letting the models take, even if it's like half of a Viagra pill, if they want to, it just releases a lot of that anxiety and stress and allows them to get more deeply like into their bodies and out of their heads. And it kind of made me like, it's kind of shifted my perspective. I don't know if it may make sense moving forward, like to allow the models to use Viagra if it's something they want, like kind of give them that option if it's going to make them more comfortable. I don't know. We haven't talked about this yet, you and I, but like, do you have a strong feeling one way or another?
I I'm in favor of permission, really. Like if that makes them feel comfortable, but I think it's more about not saying, oh, you can't do this, because I think that sends a message that of some sort of kind of like you're not allowed to. But I do think it's all in the container, and I think too it's really important to highlight for guys that coming and like hard-ons, all that stuff's amazing, and it definitely has a lot to do with pleasure. But if you can't get a boner, men need to learn that it's maybe there's some sort of anxiety that's happening, and that's okay, and there's still so much fun and pleasure to be had, and just kind of learning how to highlight that more and more. As far as like on set, yeah, I don't feel strongly about saying like no, you're not allowed. I think if they're in a situation where they're taking Viagra, then it's like my next question is like, well, do you feel pressure? Why do you feel pressure? What are we asking you to do?
Right.
What are we putting on them?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. Like if a video, you pull out a card out of the hat, which says like
yeah,
gangbang, like,
and everyone's like with their soft dicks like slapping you.
yeah. And that was kind of like what happened for a hot second. And I get what you're saying about like we need to give guys permission to like have soft dicks and explore all the like wonderful things that are still available to you, even when you're not having an erection. It's not the ultimate currency of connection, but when you're working through a video script on an erotic video shoot and like the bulk of that video involves fucking, it's tough. So I don't know, something to think about, something that might be worth revisiting. I could go on and on about the shoot, but we do have to get to this week's video, which is called Glory Hold, featuring Paris and Hunter Graham. I love this video. Absolutely love it. I think it's so hot. It opens with Hunter in a bathroom stall, and guys keep coming like in and out of the bathroom, and Hunter is jerking off, and he's waiting for someone to use the glory hole. So there's this whole I just spit everywhere because I'm so excited. It's this whole buildup that happens. And Finn, you've mentioned that anticipation is one of the cornerstones of eroticism. Like, can you explain that a bit? Because I think like in this video, it's something that I think the anticipation is done really well for the first few minutes while it kind of like builds up.
Yeah. Yes. So like not everyone might relate to this, but a lot of men do. And especially if we're overturning this sense of like non-permission in ourselves, there can be like to wait. So it's the psychology that gets really excited about anticipation is someone who like really enjoys the wanting more than the having, so it's like and I think a lot of people have been in this boat too. Like if you've had like a boyfriend maybe and then you meet somebody else, and then it's like this possibility of like what could that be, and you just start making up all kind of stories about what this you like long for it, even if they like touch you on the shoulder. That can be like this erotic charge that's a little bit more exciting even than maybe just full on sex with somebody else that you have full permission. So it's a psychological trick, and it can show up in all kinds of ways. I mean, if you're away from your sex partner and you just can't wait to see him again, and that adds so much intensity to your actual physical arousal. And in relationship with the glory hole, that's part of like what happens. And you don't know. It's kind of like like when you're training a dog. If you do variable rewards, it's like a more powerful response from the dog than if it's every single time they get what they want. So like if you're sitting and you're waiting and you don't know, it kind of heightens the sense of arousal for the people that really respond to that. Yeah. And then you can learn how to take that and build it into your actual sex. Like if you know that that's something that really turns you on, like for me, it does. And I'll play with that on purpose. Like I'll say like, well, then I'm not allowed to come, and until, Friday or whatever. And then like, then it adds to my heightening sensation.
Well, girl, it's Friday.
I know it's Friday. I did.
So, but in this video, you can really see that wanting, like on Hunter, like while he's jerking off, he's getting frustrated. And as the viewer, you're seeing these guys come in and out, and you're thinking like, well, fuck, like who's going to fucking stick their fucking cock through this fucking hole so that he can suck it, right? Like you're like watching it, like, and then another person walks in, you're like, oh, this is gonna be the time, this is the moment it does it. And it's not, it's like the fourth or fifth person that comes in before like Pierce's gigantic cock comes through the hole, and Hunter
doesn't come through
sucks
the hole, it flops through the hole.
flops through the hole.
Flops through the hole.
And Hunter, it's the size of Hunter's head, and he sucks the living shit out of that dick. It's like, yeah. Anyway,
I
last
know
week
you love the spit. There is spit involved, and I know you like that.
I like it. I like it when a blowjob gets messy. Yeah, like I want there to
Yeah,
be
me
like
too.
the drool coming out and the slobber. That's a
Yeah.
good blowjob. If there's not slobber involved, like you ain't trying hard enough. Okay.
All right.
So last week, I think I talked about my first experience, my first time at a glory hole, right? The one that I built in my house, or did I
Yeah.
just? Okay. I made a YouTube video about it, and it's
Yeah.
not up yet. I just can't remember if I talked about it here or there or in both places. But what we didn't get into was, Finn, your experience at glory holes and why you find them so hot.
Well, and I haven't done this in a long time. I just found them hot because, like, for me, it was like, back in when I was in the closet, I had this university bathroom, and that was my only world and my only outlet to personal permission to have sex. And so it also gave me this place to do it. And I was anonymous, and I didn't even have to really interact with the person, right? It was just like, it was just a dick. So it was a concept more that I was interacting with.
How long ago was this?
Well, I was at the University of Texas, and it was like, when was this? 2006. So 2006, 7, 8.
I didn't know that there were like active glory holes in 2006. Because it's hard to find a glory hole now.
Not really. I think it's an underground network.
Oh my God. Then how do I find this? They're not glory, girl. I pee all the time. I've never seen a glory hole in a bathroom.
You can Google. Well, for one thing, every university just about is going to have one somewhere.
No, not anymore. They don't.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. There's the mall. Like, there's like the mall in San Francisco has this shit.
When's the last time you've seen a glory hole in a bathroom?
Let me think. Well, at the gym, they like drilled out some of the holes in the stall.
What? Like now, your current gym?
Yeah, guys will like do stuff like that, and then they have to maintenance has to fix it. So like somebody sits in the bathroom and like fucks it, like screws a hole in a stall, and then whenever it's reported, maintenance has to fix it. And I've seen this on multiple occasions, multiple universities, and junior college.
I've used a lot of public bathrooms in my life, and I have never seen a glory hole. And in fact, when I was like researching my video of creating my at-home glory hole, which I did, I was looking for glory holes near me. And there's all these websites you can search, but like shit hasn't been updated for 10 years. And like it just seemed like there wasn't a lot of that anymore. So I hope there is. I hope the glory hole culture is still alive and well. It probably is in other countries too. Maybe not.
It's like a time capsule video.
Yeah. I feel like that.
I mean, it's possible that they're not around as much anymore for sure. But I also, I don't know. So that was, when we wrote this concept, this was, hearkening to days that that's what I was doing because I had this longing, because I didn't let myself have it. So I just would go and I couldn't stand it anymore. And then I would like break down and go do this thing. So that's what it symbolized for me, is the moment of yes after weeks of a no.
Yeah. Was the video hot for you?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I loved it. And I also think I mentioned too, I think it's really beautiful. Not only is it hot, I think it was like really pretty cinematography. Like I really liked it. It's one of my favorite ones. Yeah, and I really like I just love Hunter too. Yeah. His enthusiasm and his facial expressions.
Daniel F. Cardone is the director for this video. And it was funny, I was chatting with him. He also did the project I just got back from. And we were talking about which videos were our favorite, which ones fell short for us. And and he was laughing about this video because he's like, we were in such a small space, like that bathroom was so tiny, and it's such a fucking giant camera. And like he's like, I just really didn't think it was going to be good, and yet like it's probably my favorite video out of that shoot. So
it was so hot in there too. Oh my god,
like literally hot, sweltering.
Yeah.
So I like this video for 4 reasons. There are 4 things that I really liked about it. I love big dicks being sucked. I think that's just I could watch that all day. I think we got the anticipation right. That's number 2. Number 3, it felt very authentic to me. Like it was kind of set in what felt like a 70s or 80s like institutional bathroom, like where there would have been a glory hole. And number 4, most importantly, was Hunter's face when the giant dick flops through the hole. Oh my god! If someone doesn't make a meme out of that, I should probably make a meme out of that. It's just this big dick and him just lighting up. Like,
also, okay, here's another thing. Not to derail. If adult bookstores almost always have lots of glory holes.
oh, but that girl, that doesn't count. Like that's like saying like
Why?
like sex clubs have glory holes. No, I want like a glory hole out in the wild. I don't want like farm raised salmon. Like I want the real thing. You know?
Yeah.
That's like saying I have a glory hole in my hallway that I cut out of a curtain that I bought on Amazon.com, which I do, but like hardly counts. So yes, Hunter's face when the dick comes through is iconic to say the least. So anyway, you guys can see all this for yourself, including actually Hunter's face. It's in the preview. So if you're not a Himeros.tv member, just go to Himeros.tv, Himeros. Let me try that again. Himeros.tv. And the video is called Glory Hold. So check it out.
Another highlight of that whole shoot, though, you on the floor with your camera on the other side of the stall taking pictures while this was going on.
Yeah.
It was great. Private viewings. I wonder about that too, as you're taking pictures of all these things. Like it's gotta be like gratifying for you, to like to be able to see your creations coming to life. And
well, I have a pretty decent camera, but it doesn't capture in the same way that like film camera does. But I always try to like steal a few pictures, either for promotional materials, just to share some stuff to post on Instagram or Twitter. But I'm also aware of the fact that each time the camera clicks, like the director has to or the editor has to cut that out of the video because you hear my camera going off in the background. So I try to strike a balance. All right, time to answer some questions from you fine folks. If you guys have any questions, you can send them to Davey at daveywavey.tv. All right, we got 3 questions. Question 2, Finn, I'll let you read. That one's pretty meaty. Question number 1. This guy's coming for me. This question is mainly for Davey. We love those because he was talking about being in an open relationship. I was surprised that you're in an open relationship since you and Chad have only been dating for a few months. Is this really just your way of slowly breaking up with him? Don't you think you both deserve better than this? And where do you think that this is really going? So I mean, the question to me that like stood out the most is, don't you think you both really deserve better than this? Like the assumption there is that like we're not that people wouldn't want this for themselves, like that this isn't the path that they would choose for themselves, and for both Chad and myself, this is what we want, and we deserve what we want, and it is this. Where do I think this is going? I mean, I almost don't even know how to answer these questions because like it's discounting like non-monogamy as like the whole question, like the premise of these questions is that non-monogamy is not a valid like relationship construct. And for us, like it works really, really well. It may be that for you, it doesn't, and it isn't what you want, but I would also suggest that if you took the time to write this question, send it in and ask it, that like maybe there's something about an open relationship that's like hitting the nail on the head for you. And like like there might be something there that is worth exploring for yourself and like what your wants are and your relationship needs.
Yeah, I mean, sort of me, I haven't. Hearing the questions makes me just have questions for this writer. Is all. Like, yeah, well, I'm actually curious what it is that. Well, what kind of relationship do you have or want, or like, what is it about open relationships that really seems to trigger this person? You know, there are so many assumptions in it, and I think this idea of like slowly breaking up with him is a big assumption, because I think it could be argued the other way too. You know, it could be a
Right.
slowly breaking up with someone to have a disingenuine kind of connection where you're wanting other people and not fulfilling those. You know, it's all very indexed to someone's personal life. So
And
it's
on the
impossible to
contrary,
make.
I think that it actually like brings us, instead of breaking us up, like it actually brings us closer together. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when we were in Hong Kong, there was this moment where like I was on Grinder and I was like talking to a couple guys and I was showing Chad like their pictures and it's like, oh, do you think this guy's cute? Like, would you want to have a threesome with him? Like, what about this guy? What about this guy?
Yeah.
And then he got kind of quiet and I didn't connect the dots. I kind of just thought he was tired and cranky.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple days ago, he called me and he was like, look, like, I want to talk about this. Like, I was tired or I was quiet because like I was actually feeling hurt that like here we are in the city together and you're spending all this time on Grinder. And like, and so I was like, all right, like what, like, and we kind of like we talked through it and like what like needs of his weren't being met and
Mm-hmm.
like how we can do that better and what are some bounds that we can set. And um we like really got into it and had a really like fucking honest conversation. And afterwards it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, like it's great that we have like the connection and the space like have this conversation, and it really brought us closer together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a, I mean, and I've had that experience in my partnership too. And I think no matter, we say this a lot on here, no matter what kind of relationship you have, it doesn't matter if it's open, what variety of open or monogamous, like you have to find some way, if you want to continue to deepen your connection, you have to find some way to bring in the third, whatever that is. And the third being like an entity, not necessarily a person. And people manage that in all kinds of ways, because whatever it is outside of your relationship, whatever is outside of you and your boyfriend still exists, and it's inside your psyche and it's inside the way that you think, and you either repress that or you express it somehow. So couples manage that in all kinds of ways. They can just talk and fantasize together. They can bring in literal people. They can just share an overlap of information. It just creates an honesty. So, even if you're in a monogamous relationship, I think that I would say you need to find a way, as you're able to bring in whatever exists outside of you two, or it stands to always threaten and be in the shadows. And whatever's in the shadows is really what you need to be scared of, not what's in the open.
So stuck on that question number one. All right,
Yeah.
Finn, do you want to tackle number two?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you just want me to read it because it's so long. Okay, so okay, hey Davey. I love the podcast so much. Last week Finn was discussing, hi Finn, eloquently and engagingly as usual. See, now you set me up for this.
How does it feel, Finn, to receive that affirmation?
Oh, it feels really good, and I really appreciate. I like it when thank you.
Cry for us.
Yeah. Thank you for seeing me. So the separation between ejaculation and orgasm, and I believe this for years. I am a masturbation enthusiast. In practice, I have discovered what was taught about male orgasm is not the full story. Truth. My ejaculation and orgasm are separate phenomena, and once I master that, I can effectively have multiples of each of them. What is a given for any of these techniques to work? You must be present in your body and really open to the subtleties of your pleasure. I have taught myself how to be in a continuous throbbing orgasmic state, from dry orgasm for many, many minutes, sometimes even up to an hour. Wow. I agree with Finn that strong pelvic floor muscles are key. When we edge and land on the point of no return, feeling, we can pulse our floor muscles and trigger those internal contractions, which are so pleasurable. These dry orgasms last roughly the same amount of time as traditional ones, but are repeatable so long as we don't trigger an ejaculation by accident. He's not really got like a really detailed self-awareness around his body. Cool. Mention of this, I have also taught myself how to achieve multiple ejaculations through a technique I will call hands-off, hands-on. After a prolonged edging session, often after countless dry orgasms, I'm ragged and tired. No, he didn't say that. I feel the pressure to ejaculate quite prominently. And if I accidentally trigger the ejaculation, I take my hand off my shaft and I let it happen. My penis erupts with cum and I feel pleasurable throbbing. However, I do not jerk off through the ejaculation. I keep my hands away, either twisting my nipples or rubbing my taint or hole. Sometimes this allows me to continue masturbating immediately. I often trigger another ejaculation within less than a minute by using this hands-off, hands-on technique. He needs to be teaching a class, right?
I know. I was wondering his email address. I can't remember offhand, but like had the word masturbation in it. So when he says he's a masturbation enthusiast, like
Right.
it's like an identity for him. I also was thinking though, like if like hooking up with him would be really interesting because I feel like he sounds like he has some very specific techniques, and he'd be like, okay, now do this, and like it would be very like get you into place and be like, oh, okay. Sorry, go on.
Good idea, right? Yeah. So this hands-off, hands-on technique. He says some men call this a ruined orgasm because they take their hands off and it just kind of dribbles out, right? But that's a terrible name because it is really a miraculous orgasm, especially considering it allows me to have sometimes up to 7 ejaculations in 7 minutes. Even though the amount of cum decreases each time, it's quite simply miraculous. My boyfriend loves it because I make a lot of noise and become orgasmic putty in his arms. I discovered it by accident, but I know it to be true. Men are multi-orgasmic, whether that be wet or dry. I really want all men to experience this. I have since discovered other men who use this technique too, and so I wonder, what is it with these so-called ruined orgasms? Do you or Finn know why this hands-off, hands-on method can achieve this? Whew. That is, I'm impressed with the level of in tuneness to his body. And I as far as like a why, I don't think there's like a specific reason because everybody's body does respond physiologically kind of differently. And even with multiple orgasms, there's a continuous or a continuum around like what people are capable of doing. And, like some guys can just like rub their nipples and come. And I've always been so jealous of that. And I think it's in the subtlety around like his, if you track the pleasure and the arousal response from like 1 to 10, and you get really, most guys just shoot for like 0 to 10 as fast as possible and they fall over the edge and they're done. But the longer you hang out at each level along the way, you can really start to understand what it feels like to be at that level and kind of know where you are. So hovering around, like say you're 9 or whatever, in between your point of no return. And I've had some of those sorts of orgasms, right, where he called them dry, where hovering and practicing in that space where maybe me and my partner are playing and I'm getting fucked, and it's the orgasm is lasting like for a minute or two before I start to orgasm or start to come.
So are you squeezing your like pelvic floor in that instance, like to prevent it from coming?
Yeah, and that's whenever it's imminent, like like, oh shit, I'm about to come, and you're wanting to hold it back, so you squeeze and hold that back. And what I'm learning is how to, and what I've had successful times is just before that point and getting to hover in that space. So if that's like 9.5 before you hit 10, really knowing I'm at 9.5 and I know exactly how much to throttle and how much to brake to stay in that space. And that's when that starts to happen. And it's like, oh God. And it's been scary before. It's like, it's brought up this like, can I handle this? I don't know. Like, can I keep going? It's such an intense pleasure. So that's my response. But in answer directly to his question, yeah, I think it's just about like your relationship with your body and how you've cultivated it, and knowing where you are in the process of arousal and about to go into that point, because the arc is different for everybody, but there is a similarity for everyone's physiological response. Wow. That's my answer.
Well, it's Friday, so that means it's masturbation day. I'm gonna try it tonight when I'm
yeah. And track your arousal. I tell guys that all the time. And, the thing that we come up against is like, we're used to it's, for one thing, coming for a lot of guys is like this like claim it. Like, no, this is for a lot of guys, it's almost like a rebellion. It's like, I'm not going to work right now. I'm just going to come, and it feels really good, and we like it. But like, it feels really good also if you just hang out like the 7, for a while and just see how long can I take that and what can I discover in this space. And when you slow down like that, it gets really cool.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the in-depth question. I love it when people send us stuff that's like at that level of like this person should be hosting the podcast.
I love it. Or a class even, teaching them that. It's really beautiful.
All right. Question number 3.
I was gonna say before we go on, like, guys that can like rub their nipples and come.
Yeah.
I always think that's so hot. And I really want to be able to do that. And I've never been able to really I don't know if that's just like some people just can't, or if it's like I'm just not patient enough.
Well, maybe it's just not how your body is wired. Like, right? Like maybe that's not like, how sensitive are your nipples relative to other parts of your body?
They're pretty sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
and pleasurable.
Yeah. I think.
Well, there's always room to grow, girl.
I know.
All right. Question number 3. I transcribed this incorrectly, so I have the corrected question here. Thank you for celebrating tidy whities. I always say whitey tidies, but I guess it's tidy whities as the question came in your Instagram pictures and on your website. My question is, why are they so fucking hot? Well, it's probably different for different people. However, I can answer it for myself, which is like, I used to jerk off to like the Sears catalog, and like, I can promise you that the Sears catalog didn't have like Andrew Christian, highlighter orange, like dock straps with like, cock pouches, and no, they had whitey tighties, and like I loved like the bulge that I could see through the underwear. And I think for me, like, it connects me to my childhood. It also is I think like there's a very clean aesthetic to the tidy whities that I appreciate. Like, it's just there's just I don't know, like a masculinity to it, I guess, that turns me on. Do you enjoy the whitey tidies? Tidy whities?
Well, it kind of depends, I think. I did used to have the same experience, Sears catalogs or JCPenney's. And to this person that wrote the question, I would say, the answer if you just kind of dig back in your memories, like when you realize that was like an erotic shorthand for you for like a body response. And it is different for everybody. I personally nowadays, I'm not as big a fan of them. I like other things.
What's your underwear of choice?
It kind of depends. Sometimes I like briefs that are like just like simple, like gray kind of briefs, or I like boxer trunk briefs, or I like no underwear. That can be really hot. Well, no underwear, gym shorts look.
With like the dick flopping around.
Yeah, I like that look a lot. I like jock straps.
Have you seen the like Twitter video of this guy that's like on a treadmill with this gigantic dick flopping around while he's running?
I have. Yeah. Actually, and speaking of treadmill, oh my God, I wish I didn't save this, but someone sent me a video of 2 guys on a treadmill. One was running in front of the other guy, and the other guy had his dick in his ass, and the one that was like running on the treadmill was like, like he was the friction of him running and his butt muscles made the guy standing behind him come. And
oh my God,
I know. I deleted it. I'll get the video again if I can and send it to you.
So the guy in the back was actually standing. He like on either side of the treadmill.
He was just standing there, right? He's just standing there, almost like the trainer. And this other guy was like in front of him, running naked, and like his dick was in his ass, and it was like,
wow.
But at first I was like, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then like a minute later, I was like, oh my God, this is so hot.
Awesome. Yeah, coming soon to Himeros.tv. We'll do that. All right. Next week, we're talking about a video titled Dirty Talk. Finn, where can people find more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com. FinnDeerhart.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, more to come.